Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Create a Game series. In this episode we're going to focus on creating a shop and a merchant, as well as creating some potions. Before we get started, I'd like to thank all of my Patreon supporters for the amazing support. Now, a couple of heads ups. No, I didn't have time to fix this scene yet, which is why I can't put it on Patreon yet. I honestly just didn't have the time this week. So I'll need to find some time for that. Obviously, once it's once it's fixed, it'll be on Patreon. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a shop, and I drop my player in a random location in the map. For testing purposes, obviously it's easier if you can quickly test the shop, and I think it's just behind the hill where everything else is. So yeah, now there's a couple of things you can do. As you're aware, I'm using the Fantasy Kingdom asset, which is absolutely great. When you go to scene and demo layout houses with interiors, so let's save this one. We have a ton of houses just ready to use with interiors. There's a couple of ones you could use as a shop as well. I think there's this one by default. I know it's not really a shop, but you could use this. We have taverns, blacksmiths, etc. Now, for this one, I'm not going to do it because this won't be a town. This will be a random merchant you have in the world. So I thought something else made a bit more sense. So when going to the props, I came across, let's go there. I came across something else. So let's go to prefabs, props, or maybe it wasn't props. Can't remember. I think it was tent. God, don't tell me I forgot the name. Market. Yeah, there we go. Market stall. Good. So we have these market stalls, and I'm pretty sure you can see here. Oh yeah, by the way, I also switched to GeForce Experience for recording. I was using OBS before. OBS is great, but I had tons of compression after files got longer. Yes, the files are a lot bigger with GeForce Experience, but that's fine. I have the storage space, so I don't mind bigger files as long as the quality remains good. So here on out, you can pick whatever style you want. I'm going to do something, pretty general. This looks really potions focused, but that's okay. It's not going to be a food market, so let's just go with this one. It's potions focused. That's okay because we're going to set up potions anyway. Now, ideally, you'd obviously want to straighten your terrain just here, just to make it slightly better. Because my scene is still having some minor issues because of updating assets way too late. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to place it like this. It's alright, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. So I'm going to drag this down, just to have it available in the hierarchy. Now the nice thing here is there's tons of loose prefab props you can use. So if you want to do that, you can just unpack the prefab and remove the dressing and just place it manually yourself. Now the dressing is really cool, but you have to keep in mind that all of this is fixed. So if you want this to be a shop like in Skyrim, where you can also steal things, for example, just keep that in mind, and it's better to manually place all of these things. You can, there's bookshelves, the potions, liquids, whatever they are, all separate, so that's something you can easily do if you wanted to. Now if you don't need stealing, this is all pre-set up, works perfectly well. So next up, we're going to add a character. So let's go to character. And yeah, this character doesn't need to do a lot. Let's make sure he's actually here so I don't have to look for him. There we go. I'm going to take him out, maybe place him back in later on. I can actually keep him in, that's fine. So there we go, we have a character. Yeah, he's actually placed just fine. Cool. So we need a model for him, and I think it was here, so let's go with merchant. Now there's are other characters that would fit this description as well if you know want something else. But this is a basic merchant. He looks alright. So yeah, I'm fine with that. Now the merchant is there mostly just visually. He doesn't really add any value whatsoever. So I'm even going to leave his default animations. You know, he's not. He's just there as a prop as well, basically. But at least have him, you know, animated. So then next up, what we're going to do is I'm going to right click here, 3D object, cube, and we have this cube here. And let's, yeah, that's fine. Going to make this a tiny bit bigger. Perfect. So this cube is going to be our trigger area, so where we can actually interact with the shop. So now that we have this defined, let's turn on gizmos as well. We don't actually need the mesh renderer anymore, and we don't need this. We can just call this shop trigger. There we go. Add a trigger component, and we're going to have a onPlayer enter, trigger onPlayer exit, and another trigger for onPlayer enter key. So we'll need actions for this, and the actions will be to activate a canvas telling us, you know, we can shop here basically. So let's do that next. Let's actually add a canvas. UI canvas. Now, as you can see, this trigger scale is not, you know, it's not the conventional scale. And the problem is that will happen the same with the canvas as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that out, keep it in the stall, which has the perfect scaling, and then we can mess around with this. Now the canvas needs to be world space, and I mean there's many ways you can, you know, do this. Work with scale, work with width, work with, you know, anything else. Placement needs to be there, and there we have it. There's our canvas. Now that's a bit small, to be honest, so let's make that a tiny bit bigger. And yeah, that's okay. We'll need to rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees, and I mean it's up to you where you want the placement. I'm cool with this. You can have it above the character's head as well if you know, prefer that. So then in our canvas we're going to add a UI image. There we go. So right now, as you can see, it's, you know, it's right on top of the table, and you know what, I'm okay with that. So now we'll need a sprite, and we're going to look for a circle, and yeah, I'm going to be using this one. I like it. It's alright. Then next up, let's add a text as well. As you can see, the text is facing the wrong way. So I'm going to drag the entire canvas like this, rotate it. You don't need to do that, but you know, that's what I'm doing. Let's scale this down. There we go. I'm going to center all of this, and I'm just going to do E. Now this is a weird thing, but as you can see, if I grow this, it's not sharp. Yes, you know, obviously you can use Text Mesh Pro if you want to. If you don't want to do that, you can actually do this. I know it's a bit weird. Maybe that's one too many. There we go. I'm not really sure what the logic behind this is. I don't really have an explanation. But yeah, as you can see now, it's really sharp. And sure, there's a limit to the size, so you can play around with that. But right now, it's incredibly sharp. I'm not really sure why that is. I'm not going to pretend I do. But I mean, it is really sharp, and that's all that really matters, truthfully. So cool. So we have this. Now I'm going to turn this off. This will need to be activated, and that's what we're going to do with our actions. So we have a onPlayer enter. So we're going to do a set active. drag this in. We're going to duplicate this action, drag that into the unplayer exit. So click the little plus, drag this in, and in this duplicate, we're going to turn it off. And that's it. So let's give this a try, see if it works so far, and if it does, we can continue with the rest of the setup. And I mean, it does, except for the character. As you can see, the character is gone, so we'll have a look at that. But yeah, everything else works fine. So, you know, once we get there, the E becomes visible, and, you know we can shop there. And yeah, I mean, that's it. Cool. So let's have a look at the character. I'm pretty sure if I just drag it out, he'll now just be there. And he's still not. Okay, that is definitely interesting. So let's have a look where our character is, what happened to him. And okay, he's here. That's weird. Okay, interesting. So yeah, maybe his placement wasn't right. I'm not really sure. Can turn off the character controller as well, and technically he should just be there. And he is, but you know, now we have this issue. Okay, so it must be my placement. I'm convinced of it. There must be something wrong with the placement. So let's turn on that character controller again, and we'll see a bit later. So first off, let's continue our triggers. So we have on player enter key, and yeah, I mean, that's just going to be a simple one, because you know, amazingly, we have when we go to inventory, we have our merchant UI, and that's the one we're going to open up. Now, we don't have a merchant UI yet, and a merchant UI is not just what you might expect. It's not simply just a skin, you know, a UI image. It really is how the interface is used, and the look of it is completely separate. So I'll go to prefabs, I'll create it here, and merchant. Stall merchant. There we go. At least we know what it is. We call in general merchant. Description. Sells whatever. Now this is the place where you can actually drag in your own custom UI. I would recommend actually having a look at the default one, because that's the one you want to duplicate, modify, and then drag in here. You don't actually need to do that, so I'll show you what it looks like by default. The other couple of values we can alter are the purchase percent, so basically meaning the price. So you buy it for full price and you can sell it for 0.8 of the price, which is pretty decent when you compare to most RPGs. You lose a lot more value. Now there are a lot of RPGs where you can actually increase your sales stats, so how much you can buy it for, how much you can sell it for. Skyrim being one of those games. Now luckily we can use variables for these values, so this is something you can just tie to a variable, which then can be increased or decreased depending on which one it is in you know, your stats or your skill tree, whatever it is. So that's really nice. So we have that. So now we're going to drag in this stall merchant, and that's great, but we need something that actually, you know, he needs wares. So I know we said sells whatever, but it doesn't mean he'll just sell whatever. You still need to add the wares he's allowed to sell. So for example, we have a potion, and let's do 5. And we'll add basic gloves, which he'll sell 2 of, and that's it. So, you know, great. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now let's have a look. I hope he won't disappear. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the colliders here. Pretty sure that's related. So what we can do, because yeah, I'm pretty sure it's completely blocked off on the inside. So we can actually just simply, let me disable this entire mesh collider. Let's just start off by that. That's one of these things. All of these, I'm not going to say all, but most of these Cinti mesh, mesh colliders are just randomly generated. I have the impression, and that's fine in a way, but it does mean that there are a couple of limits to what you can do. So this is an easy, an easy trick to still have some colliders and still being a shop, but making sure you can have a volume inside. So this is the size on the Z. And the thing is, I mean, in the end it's fine because you can't really enter it anyway, so we just need to make sure that we block off the back as well. So let's just add another one. This time we'll do 0.6 on this axis. We'll drag it out to the back. There we go. Perfect as well, no issues. And then all we need to do is add one for our table. So, I mean, that's going to be smaller for sure. So let's yeah, I'm not really sure how small this has to be. I think it's on the X. Yeah, there we go. That's good enough. I think the positioning here is fine. It just, it's way too deep, so that's one of the things we need to change. Because it doesn't have to be that deep, it just needs to cover the front, really. That's all it needs to do. There we go. And yeah, fine, cool. So let's hit play mode and see what this looks like. So our merchant is in place, we have the E for interact, we press it and he'll sell basic gloves, potion. We don't have any money, so we can't actually buy anything. We close this, we walk away, and pressing E won't do anything. So yeah, that's how simple it is. So that's pretty cool. Now we still need to set up the potions and how they work, so let's do that next. If you have the examples installed, when you go to preferences, you'll have the potion here. Now, if you didn't have that potion as an option, it's because most likely you either didn't have the examples installed, or quite frankly, most likely you just deleted it. So that's all right. We can, we can go over what this really does. Because right now, as you can see, nothing happens. That has to do with my reinstall of, upgrades. Didn't go all that well. Anyway, so we need to customize this anyway, and that's completely fine because right now, as you can see, nothing actually happens. So we have potion. Let's rename that because it's a health potion. So let's actually call it health potion. Heals any wounds. That's a fine description. You can even call this a light health potion. There we go. Heals any wounds. That's fine. Item color. I don't care. We have a image by default. That's fine. You can obviously just use your own sprite. I think if we type in potion, yeah, it's not that many options from what I have, but that's okay. Now the interesting part will be prefab. We'll definitely have a look at that. Can be sold, yes or no? Yes, you can sell it, fine. Price 10, max stack 99. I'm all okay with this. Weight, not so much. I think that's a bit much. I'm going to lower it to 0.5. We have group general potions. all good. Unclick, consume, good. As you can see, nothing will happen at this moment. Unclick will, it won't do anything. That's something we'll need to solve for. And then the other important part is if we actually have a look at the default prefab, that's this one, we're gonna drag it in. And it has a couple of interesting things, a couple of good things. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this potion. There we go. And we're going to name this new health, no, light health, what was it? Light health potion. There we go. I'm going to drag this prefab somewhere else as well, because otherwise I won't remember where it was placed. So let's go. There we go. So now if I go to prefabs, it's going to be here. We have our light health potion. I'm going to drag this in. So we can remove this one again from the scene. We don't need it. And we'll have this one. There we go. So we can, for now, we can close this. I'm going to add the actions later because they'll be pretty similar to what we'll be doing next. Now, this potion, as you can see, is enormous. This is a really, really, really big potion. Compared to, well, the scale of everything else. Yeah, we'll want to adjust that for sure. So I'm going to literally place it on the table just to get some perspective of scale as well. Yeah, it's gigantic. So that's one thing we want to change. So let's go over there. As you can see right now, this is not a mesh, which is perfect. It has a rigid body, which you'll want if you want it to be a physics-based object. I do like that, so we'll keep that there. Now you can ignore this. Once you go into play mode, this will disappear, so ignore that. The trigger on left mouse click, that's something I don't want. I want a on player enter, and we'll just pick this up. Literally on player enter, add the potion, and destroy the object after finishing. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So that's good. Now these are the models basically, which is interesting. We don't want those models. We have our, well, let's hope we have some potions in here. I don't really know what to look for. I'm not going to lie. Prefabs, let's do potion. Let's give that a go. Unless I misspelled it, that's not really doing a lot. What would they call those things? Guessing it's not a cauldron. No, that's that thing over there. And that's what I meant. You can literally just replace everything you see here with a, with an object. So you can, do your own design. Let's have a look. How are these called? This is taking too long. I expected this to go a bit faster. It's a poster. I was almost potion. No, that's not it. I'm going a bit fast because I'm assuming there will be multiple of them. So we'll have 0, 1. And I'm not finding anything here. So I just assumed that those were props, but no, apparently they're... Okay, bottle seems more of the type. Bottle clear labeled. Okay, so they're just bottles. I just assumed there would be potion. That's okay. So yeah, bottles. That looks okay-ish. Let's see which one makes more sense. I mean, this looks like a potion, right? Although this has the color of a mana potion. So I'll keep this in the scene. I'll just disable it. I want to remember it. So yeah, no, that's brown. It has to be something that's green or red. That's green. Okay. Can keep that. There's really nothing red. You know what? This is good enough. You can find a better one if you prefer that. So we're just going to drag this in here. you know, the default 0, 0, 0. And yeah, we'll need to remove those completely. But for now, I just want to see if that, yeah, that's all right. Okay, so we'll definitely need to remove these completely. So the way to do this is we need to open up the prefab, which right now we can't do. So let's do an override all. There we go. Then open up the prefab, remove these two. Let's go back, and there we go. So really simple. We walk in, and it adds the potion. So perfect. That's a prefab we want as well for if we drop it. So we're good actually. We're good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to unpack this. I'm going to drag in bottle 6 here. Turn this on. Let's do 0, 0, 0. And I'm just instantly, you know, I'm just creating my mana potion straight away as well. Light mana. We don't have that in the inventory yet, so let's finish this one up first. Let's do that. So then we can copy over the action, duplicate the actions as well. That's perfect. So we have light health potion. On click, consume. So what is this going to do? Add action, attributes. Player health, add value. I don't know, 5. That's it. Just going to add 5 health. You know, it's short. You can add a couple of other things as well. You can add a visual effect on the player. You can add a sound. There's tons of stuff you can do. I'm fine with this. It adds it. I mean, I don't need some special effect to play when I'm just drinking something. So duplicate. There we go. So now we have a second one. I'm going to rename this. This will be light mana potion. We'll need a prefab, and now we can do that as well because now here we can add light mana, which is perfect. We can add that to our prefabs. There we go. And yeah, let's remove these from the scene. One of the rather important thing, make sure all of the axes are set correctly. There we go. Cool, so both now, and yeah, that's it. They'll look different, and they'll do something different as well, of course. So attribute, and we'll just change this to mana instead. And we add 5, you can add whatever value you want. So pretty cool. So for testing purposes, what we're going to do is I'm going to add a small on start, which I'll remove later on. It's just for testing. On start is perfect. Currency, add 500. There we go. We'll add these potions to the scene as well. There we go. Because we want to test the prefabs as well as the actual inventory objects. So let's give that a go. So there we go. They're gone. Now if I open up my inventory, if my filters are still set correctly, yeah, obviously you'd you'd need to change the naming a bit, or the images, or just the prefab that does the UI element of these. But there we go. We have these. If I click on them, obviously I wasn't missing any health, but we're adding some health. Pretty sure if we go to player, Yeah, I mean, we're not missing anything. So cool. Then now if I go to the shop, I have 500, so I can buy some things. Apparently this makes a sound. I always mute my sound, so I never really realized that. So as you can see, we can buy objects, price is 10, and now we can sell it for 8 as well. So yeah, pretty nice. We can sell it back, and we get 8 back, because, well, you always lose some money. And yeah, as far as I'm aware, I did do this right? Yeah, player add value. Cool. So, I mean, that's it. That's literally all, all we have to do in this case. To set up a basic shop, set up some basic potions, and we have everything sorted. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.